Hey, this is OXDF, and today we're going to look at a really cool technique referred to as LFI2RCE. I first saw this on HackTricks. Someone did a CTF write-up that they cited, and then some other people have taken this and gone a lot further with it. And it's just a super cool technique. For years, I'd always thought that you had to be able to to do a LFI, you had to get your file uploaded to the machine. And this just shows a really neat way to build a PHP file out of filters and nothing. And I just think it's super cool, and I wanted to dive into it and give a little bit of explanation about how it works, do some experimenting. So this is kind of a beyond root video to so many Hack the Box and other CTFs I've done, because it applies to so many. But also I think this is going to be valuable in bug bounty or whatever else you're doing, because if you can get an LFI, you can probably, if you can get around disable functions and content and the URL length, you can probably turn that into RCE. So let's go ahead and dive in. So to play with this and really demonstrate it, we're going to need like a really simple dummy PHP app to work off. And so we're going to write something here. We'll call it like index.php, and we will do make it like a nice vulnerable page. There's a nice header, and we can have like a pay and say stuff included. And we'll just even leave that typo. And then we can do some PHP include, and then we'll get like from the GET request, we will get the page parameter. And I believe we need to put that in parentheses. PHP is not my expertise, but we'll go with it here. That looks good. And then we'll put like pay end of page, so we can see what came from the include and what didn't. So we have this nice thing here. We'll save this. If we do PHP capital S for serve, we can serve this on port 6000. And now if we come over here and do 127.0.0.1 6000, interesting. Firefox does not want to let us do that. Fine. We'll do 7,000. And we get our page. That was weird. I've never seen that before. And we're getting some errors here. It's saying it can't include an empty file because we didn't give it one. So we'll open up a pane here and we can do like vim test.php, and we can say like insert. And right here, insert. There we go. Make a paragraph included page, like that, and we can just to show we can run PHP code here. We can do, if we can type echo, this is executed output, like that, and there we go. We can save this, and so now if we come over here and we put slash page equals test.php, and we can include a page, execute the output, etc. And that's all how it's supposed to work, right? But the reason this is dangerous is there's all sorts of things we can do, right? So we can, for one, we can read files. So if we come in here and say, Etsy host name, is it Etsy host name? You can see my host name of Hacky here, right? Like we're reading that file off the disk. If we do LSB release, you can see what OS I'm running here. So we're reading files from all the file system, and that's generally not good. You don't want to leave users up to that. So we can do one thing people do pretty quickly is you'll see like people come in here and say, don't just include the parameter itself, but append to that parameter .php. And now I can't read those files I was reading before, right? If I try to read this, it's going to try to read .etsy lsb release.php, and that doesn't exist in same error we had here, right? Now we can still read PHP files. There's still danger here, and there's still even more so the real danger of what about getting execution, right? If we can somehow get a web shell in the system, so we can do vim shell.php, we can put like, this is a web shell, and we'll do some PHP code for system underscore request cmd. So we're gonna get the cmd parameter from either a get or a post, and we're gonna pass it to the system, and we're gonna execute it. And so if we can get that on the system, right? So then we can say shell, and now it'll complain. You can see here because it's trying to call system on a blank. But if we come up here and put ampersand cmd equals ID. We've got execution, right? So there's lots of ways you can get a PHP file in the system, right? Maybe you can upload it through an insecure file upload, etc. And so people start to put filters in there. And they say, oh, you aren't allowed to upload PHP files, or you aren't allowed to, there's different ways around that. It kind of becomes a cat and mouse game. So there's different things you can try to include. For example, log poisoning is a common attack. So if you can get a malicious user agent string into an Apache log and then include that log, then you've done the same thing, right? We have examples of that in the Hack the Box machines, Poison and Peekaboo. On Trick, another Hack the Box machine, the intended path was actually to email the user and then read their email, include their email file, and if the PHP was in there, it would run. Back in 2018, Crime Stoppers and IPsecBox, you could only upload zip files, but there's a way to use PHP filters to read files out of zip files, and so you could do it that way. Updown retired a couple weeks ago, and that was a similar variation, but using a far filter. So you couldn't upload zips, but you could upload a zip file name.txt and use the far filter to read out of it. So all of these things involve getting up your web shell onto the box. Now, there's also remote file includes, so it's not typically enabled that much, but if we could put in here instead of page equals that, we could do page equals like HTTP 127.0.0.1. Let's see, what if, let's just try, I guess we can try shell like that, but that doesn't work. And we can see down here, it failed opening it. The HTTP wrapper is disabled in the server configuration. And so typically you're going to see this disabled. So it's not going to actually be that useful. We do have examples. Fulcrum did this way back in the day. Proper has a really nice one of these. It's a little bit more complicated, but it's not fun. There are examples of this, but it's not something you see that much nowadays. Typically it's disabled. And so this new technique is going to allow us to read an empty file or kind of no file at all and still get stuff pushed into the include, which we'll try to make our execution. Now this isn't going to be without drawbacks. We'll get into that, but it's still really creative and cool. So at a high level, we're going to use PHP filters that are meant to change the encoding of strings and take advantage of the fact that if you take a string and encode it pass through these different chains over and over again, you actually get like extra characters out, and you can then manipulate that if you choose the right order to get strings, basically something appended to the front. So we're going to take a look at that. Let's see, we'll go into PHP shell generator. We'll do code right here, and we'll take a look at this script. So it's got sort of cites the links here, and I'll visit these as well throughout the point in the video. But we'll go through this. So the first thing to note right here, and we'll talk about this for a second, is that the file to use is PHP temp, and this is kind of an interesting file. If we come up here, where's our here? And if we come back here, we do PHP temp. What we're going to notice, back to my server, is this works and it does not throw any errors. Now it doesn't, it doesn't show me anything because it's actually an empty file, but it's not showing any errors. And I can show this. Let's see. I can show this a little bit. I think we'll go PHP into a shell here. And if we do a echo file get contents, we do PHP temp like that, and it's nothing. It's empty. It's an empty file. Just to show you that doesn't work for anything. If I come here and do like oxdf, that it's going to say that's not a file. And what this does is when you open up a handle to php/temp, is it creates a temporary file somewhere in /temp and lets you use it until you close it, and then it goes away. What's really cool about this is anything that starts with temp will open that way. So, but as soon as, again, it has to start with temp. So if I make change this to temp, it fails. But this is cool because when we're trying to abuse it, what's going to happen is we're going to pass php.temp. It's going to become .php like this. Doesn't care. And again, it could be anything, but it doesn't care. It gives us an empty file. And so that's what we need to start our filter going off of. The next thing is we have this conversions table. I'll come back to this. And we have this filter chain. I'll come back to this too. I'll sort of go through the main here. And the main on this file, which by the way, I should show this. Well, I'll put a link to the GitHub repo where this comes from in the description here. Basically, the mode we're going to be using is this chain. We're going to define chain, and it's going to take it and it's going to base64 encode it. And it does that because it's just easier to work with, and the number of the character set it has to work with is smaller, so that makes it easier for this script. But it doesn't have to do this. And it's going to use that to generate the chain, and then it's going to print that chain. And that's basically it. So let's go take a look at what that is actually doing. Let's see, we'll go back up here. So that filter chain here. So the first thing it's going to do is start by generating these filters. And at the end, it's going to use the filters to take this and generate a payload right here. We know file to use, we already saw that, PHP temp, and then filters is here. Now before it does anything involving our chain, it's going to start with these filters right here. And it says generate some garbage for base64. So let's go ahead and play with this and see what happens. If we come, we'll see, we'll grab this. And we'll go back over here. And so if we do echo file get contents, and paste that in. And now we know a couple of these, so we're going to make this PHP temp. And we'll come back here, and if we do this with like, and so the first filter they're going to put in, by default, everyone's going to start with this. Oops, let's see. Is this one right here. So the first thing it's going to do is this, I don't know, CSIS02022KR. Sounds great, let's put it in. And if we put this in, we can see something, like did it nothing generate, what did that do, right? And it turns out what's happening is it's actually putting some control characters and stuff in there that just happen to come at the beginning of this kind of buffer, but it doesn't display to the screen very well. So if we then pipe that into a base64 decode, or encode, excuse me, come here and add that, we'll see it did output some stuff. And in fact, we can grab this, copy it. Let's make this. We can echo this like that into base64 -b. And you can see it prints nothing, but if we put that into XXD, you can see it's actually printed 4 bytes of stuff. So 4 bytes of non-printable stuff have gotten displayed there. That's kind of interesting, right? Okay, so, and now we've actually already added this base64, and then it says make sure to get rid of equal signs so it doesn't screw up the rest of everything. And so this the author here figured out that we could add, make this bigger, if we want to pipe this into there, and now we've got another convert, and it does get rid of the equal signs and put some more junk here. And so the whole point right now is just to create junk. So this looks like good junk, and apparently we don't want equal signs in it. So that's all looking good. Now is where we start to actually generate our stuff. And so what it's going to do is it's going to take our character we're trying to generate. It's going to look it up in this conversions table and get some stuff. So we'll go ahead and do that. Let's say we want to add like something really simple, like just we're trying to put df to the page, right? So we come up here, and you'll notice it starts at the back, so it's going to run backwards through the chain. So the first thing we're going to do is a lowercase f, and here it is. This string right here is going to somehow put an f at the front. And so I don't, we could go through and see exactly how they did that, but if we put this here, we run it, you can see we now start with F. That's pretty cool. Like, we have what we had before, but now we have the F, and there's some other stuff at the end, but okay, kind of cool. Now we want to get a lowercase d, so we can grab this stuff. And I think the trouble is, actually, before we do that, we should go back down here and see what else they do, because they do other stuff before they, after they put that stuff to get an F, they're going to base64 decode and then base64 encode to get rid of junk. We'll put this here. Decode, we'll paste again, and we will just change this manually. So it still looks the same, although now we have our equal signs again, so now it's going to have this version to get rid of those. And we'll put those on here. And so now we have our junk, but there's an F at the front. So the real question is, can we now get a D in front of that F? And so to do that, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to come back up here, we're going to get our D characters, basically for encode, decode, and filter. Let's go up here and grab our D. Right here. We're just going to add it to the end of the chain. And look, now we have DF. And so what I'm showing here is I can basically effectively make this filter, which reads from an empty temp file, but with these filters on top of it, now returns DF. With some other stuff. But if that DF is what I'm looking to, if that's PHP code, that's like a small web shell, now it's going to get executed by the include, and it's going to give me execution, again, with no files on disk. Well, temporary files on disk, but that's, what we're going for. Now, obviously, you don't want to build these by hand. It's extremely time consuming. I mean, that's why we have the script. So we can come here and we can say, I can say, there's one other thing. So I was showing putting df on there. In general, what they want you to do, again, because it reduces the alphabet of characters you have to write, is take what your payload is, base 64, encode it, and then you only have 64 possible characters to go. And you can see that's the 64 characters they show here in the file. So now we do that. And then at the end, we're just going to include, the last thing we're always going to do, somewhere, I believe, we will base 64 decode this at the end. So, anyway, let's show what this actually looks like, right? So we can come here and we can go to, so we go to opt, PHP like this, filter chain generator, and we can do Python, PHP filter generator, chain equals, xdf here. We get this long thing. So now if we grab this, copy it, we come back over here, put that in as our page, we get OXDF was here, and then a bunch of junk. And again, the goal here is to get, why are we doing this? We're not trying to like just print vanity messages, right? But the goal is to print PHP code there and that we can then execute. So if we change the chain from OXDF was here to PHP system, we do git because it's shorter, A, C, that, like that. And now we're getting kind of long here, but let's see if we can make it work. Grab this whole filter, make the page that, and let's see, we probably also need a C equals ID there, and we have execution. So that is really cool. So somebody basically did all the work of going through and just combining different filters to figure out which one is going to allow me to put a character to the front of the thing. I should show you, so this originally, I originally saw this on HackTricks. They actually cite it to a CTF write-up that they link over to here, where someone figured this out in solving a CTF. Their script down here is actually pretty neat. It only does a handful of the characters because those are the only ones it needed to make this payload. And their payload was a simple web shell. So we do echo, paste that in do base 64 or decode. Make it a little bigger. And you can see here it's basically just, this is a different way to write a simple short PHP web shell. Ignore that invalid input. It's just because it's missing an equal sign and PHP doesn't care. So that's why that's there. So I guess that's all I wanted to show today. I just wanted to sort of walk through how to understand this. What are the challenges we're going to run into? Well, for one, this very quickly builds up to URL too long. The URL, I can't remember what it is, but there is a maximum length on URLs, and if you go beyond that, it's just going to throw a 417, I believe it is, error. So you can't do, you couldn't do a full callback web shell in this. You have to just do something really short. And if you have something where this actually causes some trouble if you try to use it in the hack the box machine up down, because system and a lot of the other short ones are disabled. I believe it's proc open is there, but you need to do a bunch of setup code, and before you do that, it gets too long. There's probably ways around that. I haven't played with it enough to figure out what they are, but I'm sure they exist. Anyway, that was a quick walkthrough of LFIs and how to use this new LFI to RCE technique with filters. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.